Amazing. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pro NoCoders Office Hours, episode 243. I'm your host, Cameron, and I am here with Tanya, Ben, Harsha, and Suchitra. Before we get started, if this is your first time tuning in, we do Office Hours 6 times per week, where all of our members can come and ask questions about their bubble projects and anything else of the sort. We can't promise answers, but we do promise you definitely won't suffer alone. And we get it right most of the time. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Who was here first? I think Ben was here first.
Yes.
That's cool. Someone else can go first. I'm setting something up anyway for my question.
Gotcha. Well, Harsha, that is on to you. What do you have for us today?
There's no questions from my side. I think Suchitra have questions.
Gotcha.
How about you, Suchitra?
Yeah, hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'll share my screen.
Yes.
So here, the client will be able to make payment like for the particular licenses. So if they bought any of the licenses here, they will able to make a payment by clicking on this upgrade plan. So we have used Stripe integrations here. And when I click on this upgrade plan, I'm getting some error like this.
Quantity should not be specified where usage type is metered. Remove quantity from subscription data items. 0. Okay. So with that,
So
well, on our Stripe, are we using a plugin or are we doing this through the API connector?
I think we have used API connectors. Let's done this. Stripe this plugin.
Using the Stripe plugin. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to be taking this together. I don't have a whole bunch of experience with Stripe, but we'll get this going for you. So go back to your error message. Let me take a look at that real quick. Quantity should not be specified where usage type is metered. Okay. Typically, that means you can only allow a certain amount. At least the word metered in this context. Now, so we do want to remove quantity from subscription data items 0. So let's take a look at your workflow here. So when you click that button, what happens?
So I'm like this. We have used that plan ID in the backend, plan name. So I'm taking here.
Okay. Now, what happens if we remove quantity and just leave that blank?
This one?
Quantity where it says 1.
Okay.
Oh, I guess type in 0 perhaps. Okay, yeah, let's try that. Value must be greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so at least a different error this time, right? Go ahead and let's revert that back to 1. And then what we may need to do is look inside your Stripe platform and see what we have currently set up.
The Stripe platform, I don't have. I mean, the developer working on it.
Okay, because it looks like
I'll contact them and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, sure. I'd love that for sure. I want to help you out with that. But I'm also wondering if perhaps there is a different workflow action that we can choose that's more in line with the product that we're trying to change. So this is a recurring plan, right? Is this a subscription or is this an individual product? Are you familiar? It looks like we're selecting subscription.
Yeah.
Okay. So do me a favor real quick. Let's look at that error again.
Okay.
Should not be specified. That's why I thought maybe putting it as a 0, so quantity should be specified, but now it's saying that we do need 1. So it's a recurring billing product that we have.
Yes.
So I think the issue here is, from what I understand from Stripe, is that a metered connection, or not a metered connection, sorry, that's not the right one, but metered billing rather, is when the customer is charged based on how much they use. So it's like a proration of sorts, instead of explicitly setting quantities. So I think the way that we're currently setting up is very product oriented, in the sense of you buy 1 product or you buy 2 products, so on and so forth. Whereas we're really just trying to start them on that billing cycle. So that's why I have the idea, sort of like the suspicion that maybe the workflow that we're setting currently isn't the right, or the right action that we're currently setting isn't the right one. Like I said, though, not super knowledgeable on Stripe, but I am curious if we do go back into our workflow, and we try that out. Let's go back into our the workflow design tab. Yep, and so right before step 1, let's go ahead and click before that. Or I click on the arrow, doesn't matter where, we just want to add a new action. Let's type in Stripe. Create a Stripe coupon. Oh, that's all we're given. That's obviously not what we want. All right. So we're going to have to delete that right there, the text, and let's look through our plugins and see what options Stripe gives us. So just click on the arrow again like you're adding a new action. Yeah, plugins, perfect. Okay, cool. What about element actions? I'm curious. Or payment. I figure it would be under payment, wouldn't it? Okay. So currently you're doing subscribe to user to a plan. So scroll down a little bit for me there. And I see that we have create a subscription item. We have update. So scroll down all the way to the bottom, see if there's anything else hidden. Okay. Well, I want to experiment with update a subscription item, just to see what that gives us. And so, yeah, do you have that information by any chance?
Suchitra, you've been muted. It was just hard to hear Cameron, but you can unmute when you need to speak.
Very plain. So it still gives us quantity. Okay. Still gives us quantity. Not probably what we want, but just for testing's sake, I want to see if we get maybe a new error or something of the sort. Delete the step 1. And then I know it says not to specify quantity, but let's keep that as number 1. Let's refresh your page and see what we can do. Invalid subscription. Okay. So that's not going to be exactly what we want, huh? Okay, so Tanya, just want to rack your brain real quick. I imagine that you've probably dealt with Stripe in the past. There is a difference between subscription, recurring, or like recurring subscriptions and products. Are you familiar with any actions on the workflow that would help us achieve one or the other?
So what I'm not familiar with is trying to do that without having access to the Stripe dashboard myself, at
Yeah.
least as a developer. So in my experience, it takes a lot of like back and forth, just like double checking. Because even if you didn't get an error there, you'd still want to double check in the test version of the dashboard in Stripe to make sure things are working properly. So.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to be where we're going to want to pick this back up, is when we have access to that dashboard backend.
And if you can tell the client, they can add you as a developer, so you won't be able to do any of the things like that they might be concerned about. But it just gives you the proper access so you can test and do what you need to do.
Now, also, there is both, of course, Bubble Stripe plugin and then Stripe.js. Stripe.js I've dealt with a little bit, and it is a very big, very big undertaking from what I dealt with. It looks like a lot, and it is a lot, but I know that that is going to give you a little bit more flexibility ultimately in what you're trying to do.
Ultimately, it's better though, I think, to use the API connector. And then Stripe has a fantastic Discord channel, and they staff developers, Stripe developers, in that channel to help people with their API. So that's probably where I would head if you're still struggling with it after. But I would say I wouldn't. Personally, you might not have the option to do this, but personally, I probably wouldn't work on an app if they weren't willing to give me developer access to Stripe. As I like to say, I'm a developer, not a magician.
That's good. Yeah. Sorry, Suchitra. I definitely want to be able to solve this for you, but we're facing some limitations before we can really do anything.
Hi, Suchitra.
Hello.
We weren't able to hear you because you were muted. Were you saying something?
Oh, sorry. I was in a mute. Okay. So now,
So what we can do, at least right now, I'd revert what we had back to how it was.
yeah.
And then, yeah, see if you can contact your client, get developer access. And then I would, like Tanya had said, explore the API connector. And if you need any API connector help, I work with APIs. Could definitely help you set that up, get it going.
Yeah, sure.
Be good for you too, Cameron.
We would learn a lot.
Yeah.
I'm always down to learn a lot. And I know that actually leads us to Ben. Ben's still with us, right?
Yep. Oh no,
Oh,
he must be having some internet problems or something.
yeah, because Ben had an API connect. I think we were gonna do Integromat. I think he wanted to set up.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have to wait for him on that. Although in the meantime, I can go ahead and look up Integromat. And before I do that, Suchitra, do you have any other questions we could help you with?
No.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if anything comes to mind, just shout. We'll help answer it.
Yep, for sure. What about you, Cameron? Do you have any questions?
Oh man, comes back to that Algolia guy.
Yeah.
That fun bunch of just being able to sort data.
Yeah.
I'll share my screen with you though. I'll show you what I'm dealing with. Maybe I'm missing something, and
Sure.
maybe you know what the answer is. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I have a page, Algolia search, where I have two separate repeating groups. In fact, I can bring these back up to each other. So this first repeating group, you can see that the data source is a combination of different database tables. Tag set 1, tag set 2, and then tag set 3. I'm refining these searches. Where was I? I guess I'm taking each item's user. So no, I lied. I'm not. But I am merging them together to make one big sort of data source, if you will. And if I go over to the data tab and I go to tag set 1, you'll see I have 2 users. And they all have different things.
Mm-hmm.
Same with tag set 2. Same with tag set 3. And then on the right-hand side in this repeating group, I have one big block. And so what this button does down here, when I click it, it takes my current users tags 1, 2, and 3, and it puts them in one big block. So I've made 3 users to test this functionality. You can see that at least at the bottom, there's a lot of Tucson's.
Tucson in the house.
Yeah, you know what's good. I have what is like 8, 9 right here. I have 1 on your admin account. Then I have another bunch here on mine. So the idea is when I make a query request that, especially for Tucson, that is, the one with the most Tucson's will show up at top.
Okay.
Now, if I preview my page, I will show you how that does not work. So it's loading all of the current users. It's looking at, of course, at the big block that does exist. So I'll type in Tucson and nothing changes. And what's even more interesting is that we know that this character here has the most Tucson. So if I go back to the tab up here, I have 2 up here, and then I have like close to probably 15 right here. So if I let's do something, because I think this is a new account. Data privacy, and we are going to reindex this. Warning.
And you're using Algolia because you think it's going to be faster.
Yeah, the client.
figure
Yeah, so the way that this project has been sort of brought to me is that this guy has a bunch of people that are ready to use it.
Okay.
And so when we have thousands of different records, he's like, hey, you know what? Algolia should do the trick.
Okay.
So let me refresh this, see if it reindexed. No, it did not. I can go to my API keys real quick and see what's going on. That is why. I think it's invalid. That's very strange. Okay. Now it's not invalid. It's even weirder.
We'll toss this recording. You're showing API keys.
Oh yeah, I mean, true. I can recycle them anyway.
Okay. It's up to you.
So I'm gonna refresh this guy and then. Okay, cool. So 100% successful. If I check here, I go to my search. Cool. So we see that we should have 3 users with big blocks of text here.
Okay.
Neat. Okay. Cool. Okay. So this is the way it's been working for me, where regardless of the amount of actual instances of whatever I'm querying, you always pop up top. No idea why.
I'm
And,
number 1.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay, now it makes sense. But I'm always at the bottom and I'm trying to figure this out. I just added this new person here to test exactly what I'm seeing. You know, really, how does this rank? How does this sort? And that's why I'm even more confused. But I can tell you it works because if we type in green, both this user and this user have the word green somewhere inside their record. Let's search for green. And so it appears for this individual 4 times, or I guess that'd be 8 times, and the same for me 8 times. So it's tied.
Can you go to the repeating group?
Yeah, I just wanted to eliminate one of the greens out of this person. You want to go to my design?
No, that's okay. Yeah. So Algolia search for big blocks each. items user, and then click into their, so big block query input B's value field to query, and then can you click on more after the data source? Can you do any kind of sorting? Can you type sort?
We could do like a sorted by, but then it looks at the user's parameters, and there's really not a whole lot that we're going to be able to use out of
Got
that.
it. Yeah, that's so I definitely think that Eli's virtual data types might be helpful here.
You think so?
The other thing you could do is you could because you're doing a search for users. What if we, okay, I'm gonna play around.
I was gonna say we may be able to search for the big block type of content would be big block, and then let's see, could we search for all big blocks? And then would be the user's email.
Well, I mean, what you're looking for is you're looking for the count of the input inside the big block, right? And then you want to
Correct.
know the user attached to that count.
That's correct. And Algolia, inside their parameters configuration, there's something called exact matching, and keep in mind for the last like 4 hours I've done every variation of it possible. But if you search for word, it should be able to look for the exact word. Now, the issue here is that Algolia doesn't operate like a normal search engine, where instead of looking for the frequency of terms, it has a bunch of different weights. And so it ranks it based on these first. So whether or not there's a typo, if it's geographically closer to the user, the number of words from the query that matched at least once, so on and so forth, until all of these have individual weights associated with them. And whichever has the highest weight, then that's the one on top.
So you can't add a custom ranking attribute and make it frequency?
I would love to. Unfortunately, there's nothing really like that now. And then add a sort by attribute, again, not a whole lot there either. And so, yeah, Algolia, they explicitly state that they don't operate like a conventional search engine, which a conventional search engine does just that. It looks at the frequency of items and then ranks it with some kind of float, which is cool, but it gets even more complicated. Like a lot of people don't know how these search engines work. They just do. And with Algolia, their intention was to make it to where you knew how it was working, which is awesome because we do, but we don't have a whole lot of control over frequency.
Right. Well, I mean, so Algolia is doing its job. It's giving us the users really fast, right?
Yeah.
So what if we could do, I'm just gonna play. I might come up with a big fat nothing. It's totally possible.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm just opening up the sandbox. All right, let's see what we could do here.
There was an issue searching with Algolia. Please ensure API keys are correct. Huh. If you take a look after you run it in the bottom right-hand corner, I am getting an error with the keys. I think that's irrelevant to the issue that I've been experiencing because I haven't always had that error, but I am seeing it now.
Sorry, Alexa's trying to parent my child again. Can you show me what you're seeing then? Can you share again?
Yeah. Here, let me. And you know what? I realized that this is for a different repeating group. My bad.
Okay, no worries.
Not relevant.
Okay, so we want to.
I stopped sharing if you want to share your screen again.
Yep. So Algolia is finding us the users. And it might, I mean, I know that they want this to be fast, right? This seems like this is one of those things where I'd be like all over Xano.
Yeah, really.
It seems like something Xano would just be, you'd just be able to tackle it with Xano. But if I was going to come up with something just to get us started and we can optimize it later, I might do a repeating group here. And type of content is maybe like number. And then the data source would be a list of users from here. So repeating group. What's this one? Is it big block?
Yeah, that should be big. Okay.
But this was a user before, right? Data source was Algolia search for?
It should be, yeah. Type big block.
Big block query. What was the query?
Input B. Input B's value.
I want each item's. Why wouldn't that be a list of numbers?
Strange. Yeah, it definitely should be.
And I want it to evaluate to a list of numbers. Maybe I just
yeah.
need to change this. So list of users. List of users, tags. Filtered that to each item's count. Oh, let's try it again. So
Yeah, when we had it as numbers and we needed a list of numbers, could we use? I'm trying to think. Like, I wonder if arbitrary text would come into handy. But
Yeah. I know what we could do. This isn't going to be fast, but it'll give us a start. All right, so let's make this also a user. Well, that's actually what we have, right? So here we go. Current sales user's name, right? Or email?
Email, yeah. It's up top.
No, not email. There you go. And then is it product tags?
No, in fact, I was questioning why that even came up to begin with. It's not. It's big block.
Big block. Okay. Well, I mean, it's the tags that we're counting, though, right?
Let me double check because I actually don't know. No, tags is that was from a separate office hours, actually. I tried to mirror it as closely as I could to the way that this client's app is set up. And so he has it to where the tags do not show up at all on a user. Instead, they're individual database or individual records, like data tables.
So each user has one big block?
Yeah, that's the way it should be set up.
And then are the tags also in the database, or it's just text?
It's just text.
Damn it. There we go. Search for big blocks here, and then first items, tags. We use regex?
Yeah, so what are you trying to do exactly?
I'm trying to get a repeating group that I can count. So if I can filter it down where each row of the repeating group is like the 20 different Tucsons, right? So 20 different rows, I can count that repeating group, right?
Gotcha. Okay. You could use regex, yeah, and then you could set the value of the regex expression to the input value.
Because we just need to get that number, because then that number is what we could sort by. But again, I still think Eli's virtual data type is going to be required.
I mean, I probably bet it would be. Just being that it's made by Eli and probably made for something really similar to this.
Well, it is. What it is like if you want to be able to sort by something that's not a field on the data type, you create a virtual data type so that you can sort by that virtual field that you're creating, essentially, which is counting up all of something or whatever. So I think virtual data type is made specifically for this use case. Like not this exact use case, but use cases like this, right? Where you want to be able to sort by something that you're not storing in the database. And
makes
you don't
sense.
want to store it in the database, because I assume that the big block of, with the text of tags or whatever is changing. Like it's,
Yep,
yeah.
that's right. It
So-
will be pretty
So
dynamic.
you don't want to store like, oh, this person has 10 of these tags and 11 of these other tags, right? Like you just want to know at this moment which one has the most of these things.
That's
Um,
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do
So-
have a question though. So if we're not going to be going the Algolia route, in terms of, I guess, compute cycles and so on, let's say that there are 1,000 different users within the first month, and each one has on average, let's say 100 tags. How crazy would it be, would you think, to use native bubble in, I guess, combination?
Well, I would use Algolia to get the list of the users, right?
Oh, and then you're just saying sort the repeating group based off.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just using the virtual data type to sort the list, because you clearly don't have access to sort with what Algolia is giving you, and you're not storing the number you need to sort by in the database. So I would still use Algolia to run the initial search, because it will be much faster.
Yeah.
But then in terms of like the sort of that data, I would use a virtual data type.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll watch that. You said episode 86, was that?
85.
85. Okay.
It was our very first. So Jordan Richardson is absolutely wonderful, and I appreciate him so much. So he filled in for me a couple times on office hours when I couldn't make it in the early days, like maybe 2 or 3 times. And then, but Eli was the first ever guest on office hours on episode.
Oh, no way.
85. Yeah.
Cool. And he showed that off.
Yeah, and I asked him specifically to do it
Oh, heck yeah.
because I had remembered that I had seen him tweet about virtual data types, but I didn't really understand it. So I asked him to explain it in office hours. And clearly I know what it does. I've never actually used it myself. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I mean, I refer people to virtual data types, and he's never published that plugin. He's never made it public. So
It sounds like he could sell it for a lot even, truly.
He is so generous. He makes his plugins free. At some point we were talking about supporting his plugins, like NoCoders would support the plugins. We just haven't made the switch, but I guess he has to teach us how everything works so we can help people.
That's fair. He is do you know where he's from exactly? Where is it? What state?
Where Eli's from?
Yeah, because I want to say he has that Southern hospitality just from his draw, but I don't know exactly where he's from.
Yeah, he's in South Carolina.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, I have family in South Carolina. That's why I thought it sounded so familiar.
Yeah.
It's that hospitality. Okay.
I'm from North Carolina, not that far.
No, but you don't have a Southern accent at all.
I blame that. I did when I was 7. Like a video of me floating around the earth of me when I was 7 years old, and I had a like totally Southern accent. I grew up in the heart of North Carolina. I blame it on too much television.
Yep, that'll do it.
So, yeah, because neither of my parents were from North Carolina. My dad was from Egypt.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I remember you telling me that. It's so cool.
Yeah. Hi, Ritesh. How are you?
Hello, I am fine. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't have questions, but I heard from Suchitra that you wanted to look at the Stripe account.
Yeah, that's right. We were running into an issue with the recursive billing, or recurring billing rather.
Yeah.
And we were
Should I share
wondering.
my screen?
I would love that. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so so basically, we are coming up with something called License Club, which is software licenses at affordable cost. So we will buy a higher plan from these platforms, okay, and or lifetime deals from these platforms, and then what to say, release it at more affordable cost, like just $1 per month or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. A few of these platforms does not allow us to restrict the number of what to say, like restrict the usage per month. Okay. And that's why what we'll have to do is we'll have to tell them, okay, this is how much it costs, but if you what to say exceed that limit, then you will have to pay on metered bill or whatever it is, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the reason we have created it this way. So just to give you, just click on it. Yeah. Yep. So for the first 1 to 1,000, it's like $1. For the next until 3,000, it's 1.5, 3,000 to 7,000, 2.5, and thereafter it's like 0.0005 per unit.
Yep. So I see that it's a metered usage product.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how to use a metered usage product with Stripe and Bubble.
Right.
We're getting that error where we're setting a quantity and it's asking us to not have a quantity, basically. So I wonder if there's a couple things that we can do. So I'm seeing here on the back end, it's set up as it should be. With Bubble, as we were telling Suchitra, there's a couple different reasons why this may be happening, or rather, there are a couple different solutions to get around why this is happening. But I am curious if we can do a really weird, hacky kind of thing. So, Suchitra, would you be able to go ahead and share your screen so we can take a look at this? Because, yeah, no worries. And the reason. Well, what I'm thinking that we can do is we have a quantity and it's asking us to set a quantity of anything greater than 0. But I'm wondering if we can do that quantity where it's 1, and instead of putting 0 outright, we can do an arbitrary text where we're saying 1 minus 1, perhaps. Very weird. If that would work, I'd love it, but that's at least an idea that I've come up with. So on your quantity where it currently says 1, if you could erase that, and in that dynamic box, let's add an arbitrary text.
At the bottom, yeah.
And so let's set 1 or we could just do 0, actually. Well, let's try just 0. Yep, and now more, we're going to convert that to a number.
Above.
Right above, yeah. Converted to number, right above split by. Perfect. Let's go ahead and try that out. See what we can do. Oh, Suchitra, did we reset what we originally had by any chance? Because, yeah, we're on update. We actually wanted to have whatever it was previous. And now this is still going to be passing back a 0. So I don't have high hopes, but I'm just like thinking, like, what if we could do something like that? Sort of trick the system. Yeah, okay. Nope. And so we've set 1, and it says that we can't add 1, but humor me, what happens if we put 2? I imagine we're going to get the same error saying that we're not allowed to have anything, but what if? Okay. The last thing I wonder if we can add an arbitrary text back and write null, N-U-L-L. Let's do all lowercase for that. Lowercase. The opposite. Yeah, no worries. Oh, that's right. It needs to be a number. Sure, convert it to a number. It's going to pass back nothing. Maybe that's exactly what we need.
Invalid integer.
Bubble, Stripe, why? So Tawny and I were talking just a little bit before this, and the Stripe plugin through Bubble is good for real basic, e-commerce things. But this is where we're running into a bit of an issue. Because of that, there are two other options. There's the API connector itself, or there is the Stripe.js plugin.
Yeah.
And the Stripe.js plugin is basically, I mean, I guess it's an API connector with an interface, really. It provides a lot of the same kind of things you'll be able to accomplish in the API connector. It just has an interface to be able to use and manipulate data that way.
Okay.
And so I can say with confidence, I do know that it will work through Stripe.js or the API connector, but for this, it looks like we're going to be running into those issues.
Okay.
Now,
so, do you recommend to use Stripe.js?
So I know that Tanya has more experience with Stripe and e-commerce, and she says to use the API connector itself.
Okay.
And then also use the Discord channel. So Stripe has a Discord channel, and they staff it with Stripe developers to help answer your questions about their API. So
okay.
So
Makes sense.
And you can also take, because the Copilot, the Stripe.js plugin, if you go to that plugin page, you can view the plugin editor, and you can look at all of those calls and just take in the ones that you need, and
okay, sure.
Part of that, yeah.
Yep, makes sense.
But we moved. I was using the Bubble Stripe plugin for Pro NoCoders, and then we ran into quite a significant bug in the beginning of November, and we dumped the plugin and moved to our own API connector.
Yeah, that would be the best, I guess.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
And the Stripe.js plugin is fine. I know lots of people who use it, but I know that there's at least one bug that was introduced ages ago, many versions ago, and they still hadn't corrected it, and they don't support it. So that's why I would just do your own API connectors, because if you're using the plugin, you don't know when they make changes and they can introduce a bug that can break your app, kind of thing. You don't have to install every upgrade or whatever, but when you do upgrade, I just avoid plugins when I can.
Right.
Yeah. If you could do it natively through Bubble, definitely want to go that route for sure. That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just seems like Bubble doesn't have a great way natively to support exactly what you're doing. As unfortunate as that is, at least you do have the API connector with that Stripe support in Discord.
Okay.
Darn. Wish we could, provide that answer here right now. Actually the solution rather, but at least that's a good direction to head.
Pablo is working on done for you solutions and a Stripe course. So I don't think it'll be done in time to help you with what you're working on right now, Ritesh, but it is in the works. And and we're happy to help pitch in where we can on a API connector integration. So
yep, sure.
Anything else for this evening? Oh, Suchitra, you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Suchitra, you can just try connecting directly with the API.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, that should help.
Cool. Any other questions, or we gonna head to after office hours?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'll have to leave now anyways. But
All right. Well, if you have any questions, post them in the Discord. We're there to help for sure.
Sure.
Absolutely. I just want to say to anybody and everybody watching, thanks for tuning in. Definitely appreciate it for this episode of Office Hours. We're now going to be moving to After Office Hours, where if you are on the developer membership, you can go ahead and join us, and it's for those that have projects that are a little bit more sensitive and they don't want to show to the broadcast. So with that said, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, you guys take care.